The next witness on the stand would be Anderson or Anse White. While he did not kill anyone under the orders of Judge Hargis, he would reveal a plot to kill 5 men. These 5 men were to die in the courthouse during the trial of Tom Cockrill for the shooting of Ben Hargis. White would be cross-examined over a matter concerning a holster. Come along with us as Anderson White spills the beans concerning a plot to kill the 5 men. All aboard the Kentucky-Tennessee Living Time Machine. Please fasten your seatbelts and keep your arms and legs inside of the vehicle at all times. But to get going, we need your help. We still need to fire up that time machine to transport us. Please help us by clicking on the like, subscribe, and bell notification buttons down below. Not only does this fire up the time machine, but it convinces the YouTube algorithm that we need a bigger time machine to reach more people who love history as much as you do. Now, back to our story. White called to the stand. After being called to the stand, sworn in, and having taken his seat in the witness box, Anderson White made a confession. While he would not actually kill anyone on that day, he was still involved in a plot to eliminate witnesses against the Hargis faction. According to the Breathitt County News, Jackson, Kentucky, April 21st, 1905. Quote, Anderson, or Anse White, was the next witness. Said he knew James Hargis and the other men jointly indicted with him. Witness was in Jackson the day application was made for bail for Tom Cockrill, who was in jail charged with the murder of Ben Hargis. He was in the courthouse and met James Hargis, who asked him if he had a pistol. Witness said that he went to the Hargis store with Jim Hargis and was there given a .45 Colt's revolver by the defendant, after which they returned to the courthouse. After reaching the courthouse, witness said that Hargis told him to go into the courtroom and join Kurt Jett and Hiram Hayes, and if any argument was started, to assist those 2 men in killing either or all 5 men. Witness said Hargis named Jim Cockrill, McKinley Cockrill, attorney W.W. Vaughn, Dr. Cox, and 1 other man, which he believed was Jim Markham, all of which he wanted killed, unquote. But there was more to this that the Breathitt County News failed to report. According to the Americus Times Recorder, Americus, Georgia, March 23, 1905. Quote, Anderson White is the brother of Tom White, who is under the life sentence for the murder of J.B. Markham. White said that prior to the killing of Cockrill, James Hargis took him to the Hargis store and gave him a .45 caliber pistol, and told him that he wanted him to return to the courthouse where the trial of Tom Cockrill for the killing of Ben Hargis was in progress, and be ready to do as Judge Hargis told him. He declared that Hargis wanted him to shoot 5 men, White being ordered to shoot in the event that any trouble started. The men he was to shoot were Dr. Cox, James Cockrill, Mark Cockrill, Attorney Vaughn, and another the witness recalled to be Markham. Quote, kill all of these 5 or any damned one of them, unquote, is what White said Hargis told him to do. He said he declined to do this and returned the pistol. Hargis told him that he would be needed probably as a witness and told him to return when sent for, unquote. This testimony revealed the plot. The 5 men in question were in the way of the Hargis faction doing as they pleased in Breathitt County. It was felt that these men were not only political opponents, but were also getting in the way of the faction taking complete control of Breathitt County. Believe it or not, the courthouses in Kentucky were not safe places to be in the late 1800s to early 1900s. This is not the first time that a shootout or a killing of a witness on the stand has taken place in the feuds. But it is clear that the Hargis faction felt that since all 5 men would be in attendance for the Cockrill trial, that this would be the perfect opportunity to take care of them once and for all. Cockrill and Markham would both be slain in and around the courthouse in Jackson, Kentucky later on. The plot fails. The court date arrived, and everyone who was a part of the plot was well armed. Hiram Hayes would be the signal to start the trouble in the court over whether or not Tom Cockrill should receive bail. According to the Breathitt County News, Jackson, Kentucky, April 21st, 1905, quote, witness said that he went into the courtroom and saw Hayes, but at that time did not know Kurt Jett. Said that during the argument on the question of bail, Hiram Hayes left his seat and went to the railing and began cursing Jim Cockrill and Attorney Vaughn, but was silenced by one of the deputy sheriffs. Witness said he took a seat behind the stove in order to save his own life in case any shooting was done. Said he did not take the pistol with any intention of using it, but that his brother, Tom White, was in trouble in Jackson at that time, and he believed that Jim Hargis was in a position to help him out of that trouble, and in order to win the influence of Hargis, made him believe that he would assist in the slaughter, unquote. We have a couple of takeaways with this section of testimony. One takeaway would be that White did not know who Jett was. Now, Kurt Jett had a mean reputation in Breathitt County and was often referred to as Mad Dog. So, it is highly questionable whether or not Jett and White actually did know each other. Having never met up to this point in an eastern Kentucky county, it is possible for two people to know each other through reputation only. The second takeaway would be that Hiram Hayes stood up from his seat and began giving a loud and disorderly objection to the bail being set for Cockrill. While we do not know for certain that Hiram Hayes was meant to do this for Judge Hargis or not, we do find it interesting that Judge Hargis was expecting trouble in the courtroom and armed everyone accordingly and had White sit next to Hayes. We also find it interesting that the deputy sheriff that intervened might have stopped a bigger problem than he realized. The third takeaway from this testimony had to do with White's actions during the hearing. Instead of getting a good position and a clear shot, he instead hid behind a potbelly stove. Was this cowardice or something else? Granted that Anderson White did bring the gun with him into the courtroom, but this was only symbolic in his eyes. He states that he had no intention of using the said pistol and only had it in his possession in order to gain favor with Judge Hargis for his brother Tom White. Could he have hid behind the potbelly stove to make it look like that he was gaining a position, or was he hiding there because shootouts in Kentucky courts over feuds was now a common occurrence? This ends the main portion of Anderson White's testimony. It is of note that even though the 5 men did not get shot during the hearing, it seems to be evident that there was a plot hatched by Judge Hargis that the men would be killed. Cross-examination of Anderson White. One of the few witness cross-examinations that we will see during this trial came from the defense attorney, Farrell. While we do not have the actual questions being asked by Farrell, we can get a good idea of how he proceeded with the witness. Continuing with the Breathitt County News article, quote, on cross-examination by Farrell, the witness said that he asked Hargis for a holster in which to carry the gun, but not having one, Hargis told him to put the gun under his coat, which he did with the muzzle protruding above his coat collar. Said that all the time he was in the courtroom, the gun was in this position, but that as Hargis had told him, it made no difference. He made no further effort to conceal it. Witness said that he went to Hargis that afternoon to return the gun to him, but was told not to leave town as he was needed. Spent 2 days at the home of Lewis Hayes, and his expenses were paid by Hargis, after which he returned the pistol and went to his home in the country, unquote. Okay, this is a little confusing, so let's take this apart. First, we have Anderson White asking about a holster for the gun. He is told to put the pistol under his coat. Now, this is wild. Why was the pistol gun muzzle facing upward and coming through the coat collar? If the stock of the gun was wedged in the sleeve of the coat, would that not put the gun pointing directly at his own head? And would a person walking in clear view of everyone with a gun barrel pointing directly at his own head look a bit strange? Why didn't White place the gun in a coat pocket? Men's coat pockets were made pretty deep and could have easily hidden said gun. Did Hargis tell White to basically forget about hiding it because White looks completely obvious and a bit silly? And maybe Hargis was a little afraid that Anderson might grab for the gun and shoot himself? After all, back then the only safety was not cocking the pistol. But in removing the gun in a hurry, he could have cocked the gun. Second, White goes to Hargis to return the said unused pistol. And instead of taking back the gun, Hargis tells White to stay in town because his testimony might be needed. Furthermore, Hargis pays for White to stay with Lewis Hayes. So, why did he want White to stick around after the failed attempt? Was Hargis planning on White to testify on what he witnessed concerning the death of Ben Hargis? Was he counting on White to give a false testimony? Would White be needed in case another opportunity for the men to be shot at the courthouse? Either way, 2 days after Tom Cockrill's trial, White returned the pistol and returned back to Breathitt County once more. So ends the examination of Anderson White. In next week's video, we will have another explosive testimony given by Hardin Childers. Childers will give an account of what he saw from his home, which was 150 yards from the courthouse. He will also give testimony that will cause objections in the case. Thank you. We at Kentucky Tennessee Living would like to thank you for watching our video series on the Appalachian feuds. Don't forget to hit that like button, as the more likes we receive, the more likely YouTube is to suggest our videos to other viewers. Also, to receive notice when we upload a new video, be sure to subscribe and click the bell notification button. We thank you for continuing to support Kentucky Tennessee Living as we are discovering the mysteries in Appalachian history.